Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to GameKeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the GameKeeper crew direct from Mossy Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
Well, welcome everybody once again to the heart and soul of the Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studios on Highway 45 in beautiful West Point, Mississippi.
Highway 45 alternate south.
That is correct.
South.
Can depend on Dudley to correct me.
45A.
So that's Lanny right there, who's still undefeated as a heavyweight UFC fighter, is my understanding. And then on the other side of me, we have Dudley Phelps, who is also undefeated as a heavyweight fighter. So, no, today we're just going to kind of having fun. It's, today's date, September 10th. Tomorrow is September 11th.
Ooh.
And I think we should kind of pay a little reverence to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do y'all remember where you were?
I remember.
I do.
September 11th. Where were you, Dudley?
Well, I was in the Delta in a little town called Bull, Mississippi. I was a student at Delta State, and I was checking boll weevil traps and working at a restaurant and going to school.
Where were you when you saw the news?
I was at my house watching the news in bed. I think it was a weekend, and we were sleeping.
No, it was during the week, yeah.
So I was skipping class.
Yeah.
What about you?
In bed.
I very specifically remembered I was living in town. It was before I lived even more rural than West Point, before I moved further out in the river bottom. But got up, remember glancing at the TV, or not glancing at the TV, no, turning the radio on. That's right. Got out, jumped in my truck, coming to work here, cranked up my truck, and the radio said that a Cessna had run into one of the towers. And I remember riding to work going, well, that was weird. I mean, how did he not see that tower? And I was going through, like, did the guy have a heart attack?
It didn't register with me either.
Didn't really make any sense. And then I remember walking into the downtown office at Mossy Oak and everybody being gathered around the TVs and seeing, the second plane hit. Mm-hmm. And then just this eerie feeling, it's like, what is really going on here?
It was eerie.
It was uncertain. I've never been through my generation, the X generation. It's your generation too. Mm-hmm. Bobby, not so much. But we'd never been through, anything dramatic like that, or I think on our own home soil. So it was very sobering, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Actually, the guy, you remember C.J. Davis?
Yeah.
And he was working with us at the time. And I remember we had a truck stuck at Cottrell Lake. We were trying to get out there and get it. And then just having the conversation, because gas pumps and everything was just so crazy. But
that's a way better story than mine. Where were you, Bobby?
Well, I went teal hunting with Tim Brooks, and we came out of the river and went to a little diner in Columbus, and we're sitting there, and one plane had hit the tower, mm-hmm. and we sat there watching it, and we both were just, you just couldn't believe what was happening. Just kind of
it was surreal. It was almost like you were watching a movie.
Yeah.
Cuz had Wilhelmino on last week, I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the Fistful of Dirt podcast.
Fistful of Dirt podcast. Y'all be sure and tune into that one. But, he's a good friend of ours. I think he was one of the Port Authority police, was trapped under there. And when they got him to the hospital, they were trying to, be uber respectful of him, obviously, and said, hey, if there's one person in the world we could get on the phone for you to talk to, who would it be? And they were expecting, I'm sure, like Tom Brady or something like that. And he said, Cuz Strickland. Yeah. And Cuz and Toxie picked up the phone and called him, and that's where our relationship started. So, great man. No doubt about it.
That's a good story. If anybody gets a chance to listen to that, they should.
Yeah, they should.
Speaking of Toxie, one of the stories that I remember of September 11th was, at that time, Lanny, you're and my boss, Daryl Daig, was stuck out in Washington State, and they had grounded all the airplanes, so he couldn't fly home, and you couldn't get rental car. Everything was crazy.
Everything was locked up.
And Toxie ended up calling a Chevrolet dealership out there and bought a truck.
On the credit card.
Yep. And Daryl drove home with it. And when he got back here, sold the truck. But I just was so impressed that A, he thought of that.
Right.
And B, he would do that.
Right.
And C, he did that.
He did that. And then Cuz, Amy was in Washington, Cuz's daughter. So he saw the travelers hit. He got in his truck and went straight up there. He didn't even blink an eye.
I remember that.
Went up there and went to get her. And the funny thing about Daryl, too, I said, what'd you do, Daryl, when you got the truck? He said, I went and bought all the gas cans I could and filled them up in the back. He said, we weren't stopping coming home.
That was a crazy time. But so tomorrow, September 11th, and I'm not sure when people will listen to this. It'll be after September 11th, but I just wanted to point it out. Make sure
it's very important for us to remember.
Respectful to the date. So
yeah.
So with that said, let's move on a little bit. I see we've got some topics here, and you took the boys on a dove shoot.
Yeah, we always talk about the MDWFP a lot. Got lucky, and they have some youth hunts available. And actually, me and Jason McKellar, a good gamekeeper compadre here at Mossy Oak, all of our boys drew. And they're all good friends. So it was a super exciting time. I don't know if y'all spent much time with young boys that are just learning to shoot on a dove field, but the main thing is shoot, and they love to shoot. So I think we did more fire ready aim than anything. But they had a really good time, so it's fun.
When do you grow out of that?
You don't.
Yeah. I don't think I grow out of that part with doves.
No, I don't. No, it's fun. And
I don't take long shots like I used to, but I shoot
they
a
did.
lot.
They would, the birds would be coming in. I was like, and they're like, what about that one? I'm like, it's a little too far. And they're like, can we still shoot at him? I'm like, sure. Yeah, well, we came out. The Wardens, the Wardens actually put the hunt on, so it's phenomenally run. And we came out, and you check your birds with them, and we came rolling out 5. I was like, well, man, we heard y'all shooting. How many times y'all shoot? I was like, I don't know. We burned through some boxes of shells, and how many doves did y'all have? And we had 4. And he was like, well, that's good, but actually we had only killed 2. My dog, did a little recon for us and picked some up that it went and flew in the bushes with.
Good work, Goose.
Good work, Goose.
How do they decide where everybody's going to sit?
It's very organized. It's a 50-acre field, and they literally go out there and hang ribbons for where you should get it really spaced out really carefully, because you can imagine, a public duck hunt public dove hunt could get kind of
anything.
Safe. Yeah, and look, they give you the things catered. The game wardens give you a safety briefing, and then they take every one of the kids out and they make them shoot skeet at skeet range. Game wardens go through swinging and gun safety with them and everything else. And then everybody loads up in a big caravan and goes out to the field. Yeah. So they actually had, I'm going to call it dirty sunflowers. I don't know if anybody's ever, I know we've talked about dirty corn a lot, but what they've done there is a mix of sunflowers and brown top millet. And they're taking I believe it's called a do-all, which is not that common a piece of an equipment, I don't imagine.
But they're kind of sought after.
Yeah, very sought after.
It's an older piece, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's got chopping kind of things in the front and then like a hera in the back. Is that what?
Yeah, it's usually like it's like a chisel plow, and then or a disc, and then a bunch of chisels, and then it'll have like a roller thing, or it'll have like a board in the back that drags. And
maybe they built this thing custom, because I've heard everybody talk about do-alls, but this thing had blades that had a little bit of curve to them on cylinders.
Yeah,
but you can see air between it. You know what I mean? And then after that, it had a very heavy drag. So it was chopping
the sunflowers.
Mm-hmm. And then, but it was boiling up dirt too. So when you would go out there would be just clean dirt and sunflower and, brown top millet out there.
Mm. Nice. So.
For one time, you didn't have to worry about being legal.
That's right.
Or illegal.
I didn't have to worry if the field was legal. Yeah. And they all, it's a great experience.
Did it make you nervous being around that many game wardens?
I don't get nervous around game wardens. It's interesting. I think I've been around it so much. The only time I really got nervous in around a game warden was when we had Portland Landing. And the guy I was talking about earlier, C.J. Davis, and I spent a lot of time down there. And he had this, Dodge 1500 four-wheel drive truck. and we had these old Suburbans that we, worked the place in. Well, I came around the corner and I saw this 4-wheel drive Dodge truck in front of me. And I said, I'm going to get him. And I punched it and came around him on them gravel roads slinging, right beside him. I looked. It wasn't CJ. It was the game warden.
Oh, man.
I know. I waved at him. He waved at me. And I waved at him like this to follow me, and I pulled in the lodge. I don't know if I was getting in trouble. And I was like, you want some breakfast? He's like, I'm starving to death. I'm like, well, come on in here. Let's eat some eggs.
I thought you were somebody else.
I did. I said, I thought you were CJ. I'm so sorry. He got a kick out of that.
Only you. The rest of us would have been arrested.
Yeah, maybe. It was Yolanda. She bailed me out with the eggs.
Boy, she had some good eggs.
She could do it. Oh, but.
So what if you did you've been talking about necropsies for a couple of weeks. So like a new word you learned. And you've been talking about it, but did you necropsy your doves?
It's an old word. I picked it up from.
I'm saying it's a new word to you.
I know. The Bodoc, Dr. Bumgardner, back in the Lee Haven days, took great pleasure in his post-mortem necropsy.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the word from. I didn't really realize until today that, necropsy is referring to post-mortem examination on animals, while an autopsy is on humans. So, yeah, necropsy. But so
there's a lot that can be learned from seeing what your deer are eating.
It's interesting.
Or your doves.
Or your doves.
Or turkeys.
Yeah, and we've got some pictures of some dove, I guess is a crop or crawl.
Whatever you want to call it.
Crawl, whatever it was.
It's a crop, isn't it?
Some people call it a crawl.
Yeah.
Or a crawl.
And don't they, did they put gravel in that thing?
That's in the gizzard.
That's in the gizzard. So that's why you see them pick around.
Yeah, so the food just kind of sits in the crop for a while, and I'm sure there's some kind of enzyme that helps pre-digest, and then it goes into the gizzard, and it gets chopped up and with the gravel that they eat.
Helps grind it down.
Gizzard's my favorite part of the dove.
Oh, how about
So
that?
I like saving the hearts and the gizzards.
I've been thinking about saving the hearts because I love duck heart.
Right, and you save the hearts and the gizzards, and when you fry your doves, you also fry those and then put them back into the gravy when you're done.
This is next level dove eating talk right here.
Yeah.
I always give Copper the hearts.
Do you?
Yeah, sometimes I'll give the heart to my cat or something.
Have you ever had duck hearts?
Yeah, they're great.
No.
Excellent.
You're asking me. No, I have not.
Well, the next time we kill some ducks, which is hopefully coming up soon, we're going to go straight to the camp and we're going to sear some fresh duck hearts. And you're going to love them because they are good.
Well, I'm not going to doubt you. I've tried a lot of things, but liver and heart and all that.
I'm not
never enjoyed that.
I'm not an organator. No, not at all.
I didn't think I was.
Yeah. But I do like the heart. I don't like deer heart. I like duck heart.
I killed a moose one time, and they cut the heart out.
How big was that thing?
Like 1,200 pounds. He was
The
huge.
heart was?
No.
Did they make you eat it raw?
No, but they did. The Newfoundlanders did that. It was prized to them, but it was huge, and they cut it out, and I don't know what ended up happening to it.
Well, I'm doing a lot of food research. Obviously, it's near and dear to all of us here. But it's interesting to see the dynamic of the hunter changing, and it's definitely more food related. It's being fueled by the locavore or whatever you want to call it, movement, field to plate, farm to plate, whatever it is. People want to know where their food's coming from. I actually read an article, which I thought was a lot dated, but it was actually from 2018, where oh God, I forgot the writer's name, but it was about his wife encouraging him. He brought home a doe, and she said, "Would you please bring back a fawn next time? That's my favorite one to eat."
What?
Yeah, I have to show it to you. I was like, man, they get next level with it.
Yeah.
But
Well, back to the necropsy thing. It's just so interesting to me that, you plant sunflowers or plant wheat or millet or whatever for your doves, but most of the time when you see what's inside their crop, you'll see the wheat or the sunflower, but you see all kinds of other stuff too.
Yeah.
And I've seen where people will plant the seeds in there to find out what it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. I see a lot of those Willie Croton seeds.
Yeah.
Is that all brown top millet? I've got the actual.
Lanny's showing me a photo of it.
A picture of this.
That looks like millet to me. Yep.
Yeah.
I see a wheat. I see some sunflower. And I see the millet. I don't see anything else. Sometimes you'll see like bahia grass.
That's what I was expecting to see.
Or
some grass seed.
goat weed or something like that.
Have y'all ever killed a wood duck in the afternoon, late in the afternoon, and their craw will just be full of acorns.
Full of acorns.
Like, I don't know how they get so many.
Stuff them in there.
And then during the night, I guess that gizzard processes all those.
Yeah, it's amazing. I found a pecan in a duck before. We're talking about, I mean, you know how big a pecan is.
Oh, yeah. And I always look in turkeys, too. And you'll see like a bug and then a clover flower.
Yeah. Or those little yellow flowers.
Yeah. Are those things actually prehistoric? I know we're going to talk about fertilizer a little bit later on, but I've always heard those yellow flowers in all those fields is actually coming from the inert matter, which we'll talk about in a little bit in fertilizer, is a prehistoric flower. Dudley?
That's interesting.
All right. Don't know about that one.
I might need to put my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know the only place you see those flowers are in fertilized ag fields.
Buttercup.
I'm not talking about the buttercup. I'm talking about that low one. You know, to me, a buttercup's got that tubal,
right?
You know, and is in house places. But this are, you know, I mean, it's just those yellow flowers that are all over ag fields in the spring. Turkeys always try to.
Well, that's something we'll have to research
check that out
and get back.
But
yeah, get your tinfoil hat out. You probably need to do that. So, all right, well, let's get this thing kind of back on track here.
Yeah.
Not that we've gotten off track.
Are we going to post these necropsy photos? Is that too graphic for the social media days?
We'll have to find out.
I wouldn't think
Is
so.
that
It's just
PC?
seeds.
It's just seeds. Yeah, I took a picture of it without the dove in it, so be interesting to see what everybody else is in the crop, whatever you want to call it, doves across the country. Maybe playing a little identify that seed.
It's just so cool.
Yeah, it is. Well, so look, today on this episode of the GameKeepers Podcast, we're gonna have Todd Ammonroot on. We're going to talk about the next issue, which is the fall issue, which is being printed and bound and mailed this next week. So that the fall issue is always is one that everybody looks forward to because it's got a lot of planning advice, et cetera, in it. So
and it's the season kickoff.
It really is. So that's we're going to talk to Todd, and then I see that during the Have a Chat with Dudley, we're going to talk about a lot about fertilizer. Which is interesting. And then at some point, you've got down here, you'd like to talk about muscadine. So I've got a special little treat for us when we get to the muscadine section. So.
I'm excited about
And then
muscadine.
looking across, I didn't introduce Jason Cleveland a little bit earlier, shame on me. But he's our producer. And when I mentioned treat, he woke up over there. He's looking at me now. He loves to eat muscadines.
That is the reason it's on the list.
I have a pile of muscadine seeds in front of my computer, too.
Well, Jason is a health nut. And I think I heard him say that they were really good for antioxidants. So I'm guessing he doesn't even have any oxidants left.
It's all anti. Yeah. Blueberries, too.
I'd also like to personally thank Jason for figuring out what the hiss was in our previous podcasts.
Was it in every one of them?
I have bad hearing and I can't hear it.
Well,
my family told me there was a little hiss while everybody was talking.
Gotcha.
And I think Jason fixed that today.
Speaking of just this podcast, I think all of us have done radio shows before, and you're always in such a rush to say everything you want to say in that
live moment.
That 90 seconds that they give you. But this is, it's very relaxing. It's just, you just talk. So
chewing fat.
There's no like pressure to get it done.
Talk
in a certain.
I love the informalness of it.
Mm-hmm. I like a good conversation, good open one. It's good for the soul.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we, without look, today's show is we're gonna it's gonna be sponsored by Spartan Cameras. So
Spartan, boy,
give a little
talk
shout
about
out
a good
to those
piece
guys.
of equipment.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing because you'll be sitting somewhere and your phone will light up, and there's a picture. I just love the fact that it can send it to your phone. That is amazing.
Well, they've really thought it out.
What's amazing to me is my farm is so rural that there is one place that you might be able to get a phone call out or receive a text. And I can put those cameras anywhere on my property, and it will take photos and send me those photos immediately after taking it.
It's amazing. It really is.
It uses a little more battery if you're like down in a holla or something where the reception is just terrible. But, I put it on a ridge, and even alkaline batteries are lasting 3, 4, 5 months.
Wow.
I'm taking pictures all day.
I'll tell you.
It's.
I've never had batteries last that long. I don't know what you're doing. That's impressive.
Well, maybe it's not taking as many pictures as yours. But
Well, no doubt the development team to put that thing together is
they're state of the art. Yeah.
Everything. The first time when we talked about doing some stuff with them, they're like, well, I was very critical. To your point, Dudley, I'm like, look, we can't get a 3G phone call out of these things. My phone goes dead at the places where we are. So Bobby took one of them to the most sparse cell phone coverage.
You can't get a text out.
You cannot even get a text out. And then wouldn't you know it, he's got pictures of turkeys for me to shoot coming into his phone
No, that's not true. They weren't turkeys for you to shoot.
Yeah.
But literally, we can't get any service down there. You cannot, if you need to text, when I had that kidney stone, I like to never got a text out.
and,
Help!
but it's got 4 bars down there. It's amazing.
I don't know if it's the antenna or what it is, but it works.
I don't really care what it is. They know what they're doing, and I trust them. I can call them and get an answer every time, and they understand your problem. I had one problem, and that was just when I was setting it up. I had some trouble, and they, okay, boom.
Yeah.
There's so on their website, if you go to the Spartan website, there's a biologic camera. It's in Mossy Oak camo. It's a good-looking camera, and it works.
Of course, it's a good-looking camera.
It is. All right, guys, well, let's move along. Why don't we take this chance to let's call Todd, Jason, get him on the phone, and when we come back, guys, we'll have Todd
Emerud, the editor. Is he the editor-in-chief, or is he just the editor?
Yeah, he likes to be called editor-in-chief.
Editor-in-chief, I get it. Yeah, the editor-in-chief of the GameKeeper Magazine.
What? No.
The GameKeeper Magazine is our life outdoors on paper.
We love GameKeepers Magazine.
It's full of great information.
Full of ideas on how to make the habitat better.
From plots to trees
to whitetails and waterfowl.
It's total farm management.
There's so much information in GameKeepers,
especially when it comes to managing your property.
You can't go wrong if you want to improve your habitat for wildlife.
Pick up our GameKeepers Magazine.
GameKeepers,
the Journal of Wildlife Stewardship.
Hello.
Hey, Todd. It's Bobby and Lanny and Dudley and Jason here. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We wanted to take a little time and catch up with you. I know the fall issue, I'm sure you're relieved that it's done and at the printer. And we just wanted to kind of ask your opinion of it, what you thought, and get maybe even find out what some of your favorite articles, just to kind of tease people with what's coming.
Yeah, sure. Oh, wow. See, I'm already on to winter, so I've kind of almost forgotten what's in the fall, but I know there was fall tends to be a bit more hunting heavy rather than solely management. We put some hunting related articles in there, and Gerald Almy has one on funnels. I know Ron Jolly had a great one, I thought, on wildlife bridges.
Wildlife bridges?
Bridges, kind of bridging it with all our man-made sections and dividers and agriculture. Wildlife can't travel from one woodlot to another as easy as they could in the past, and it's actually pretty good. I learned a thing or two from it.
So he's taken cutting the fence, top wire on the fence to the next level.
He has.
That's more what I would consider to be a funnel. These are more, planting cover to make them feel comfortable about going from one place to another.
Like a transitional zone?
Yeah, the funnels and the corridor are wildlife bridges, I guess you would say, are really two different articles, though, that kind of marry well together. We got our normal stuff on, a little bit on managing fisheries, and we got fly fishing. We got a piece on terrestrials for fall trout.
I really enjoyed reading over that one.
One thing I'll say, Todd, Dudley's right across the hall from me, so generally when you guys send that to us to edit and look through, I usually hear Dudley groaning and moaning and as he's reading through and stuff, and I didn't hear much of that this time, so I'm thinking that there weren't as many
grammatical.
Yes,
I'm getting better. Dudley embarrasses me. Dudley's the best proofer. He does. He's the best proofer that I know of. He catches the, where there's a possibly properly spelled word there, but it's not the actual word. I mean, he catches the most hard to catch proofs. That's Dudley, and he embarrasses me. Editor, I ought to have that stuff, but he finds my mistakes all the time.
Well, everybody's getting better too, and there's some people that I almost don't even have to read it. I trust them so much, but I do anyway.
That would not be me.
I mean, Bob.
I would agree.
Shout out to Bob Humphrey.
Yeah, the Humpty Hump.
Absolutely, or the Jollies.
The Jollies,
yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Mark Thomas.
Yeah, I love Gerald's stuff. I've just enjoyed reading his stuff too. I mean, we've got so many good.
Yeah, we've got a great.
And that's what's so neat about what we have. We didn't all grow up writing articles. We grew up hanging out outside and being in the outdoors and doing all kinds of cool habitat stuff. So a lot of those articles come in a little bit rough because we're not trained.
We dangle our participles is what you're trying to say.
Right. So
you're talking to one of those right here. If you would have told me in high school English that I'd have a job editing a magazine one day, I'd have laughed at you.
Yeah.
That's when you had the band together, wasn't it, Todd?
It was. Yep, back in those days. But I would just as soon have authors that really know what they're talking about when it comes to wildlife and managing wildlife than a great writer.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we all agree.
I think that's kind of what sets us apart.
Well, this magazine.
With that said, we have some good writers, though.
Oh, absolutely.
This magazine, I think we're in it. Maybe it's going into its 11th year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so proud of how that thing is held on. And magazines have kind of gone through a little time period where maybe they weren't valued as much as they were in the past. I mean, I'm going back in time 3 or 4 or 5 years when digital kind of started getting to be a big thing.
Right.
But it seems now like people are thinking of a physical magazine as more of a premium.
Yeah.
And enjoy holding that magazine and sitting there and reading it rather than, we've got through, Lanny understands all this and was able to set up where you can look at the magazine on your iPhone if you want to. Mm-hmm. Where do they do that, Lanny? Is that on an app?
Yeah, there's a GameKeeper Magazine app that you can go and download it. So, I mean, that's what we're doing. We're serving, a younger audience and an older audience when it comes down to it.
But I still like to hold that magazine.
Absolutely. I mean, the bathrooms of every hunting camp were growing up were littered with magazines that we read about. So now we're lucky to in a time when printed magazine subscriptions are eroding. We're still doing well, and I think it's due to just what y'all were talking about, the variety of content. It's a one-stop shop where you might learn about wildlife bridges. You might learn about water quality. And of course, you're going to learn about getting the most out of your land as far as wildlife is concerned.
I mean, it'll Dudley because of Dudley and Todd. It'll have stuff about pollinators. And it'll have stuff about trees, and it's very diverse. We've got the gun section now, and Gamekeeper gear, and so it is a really diverse magazine. I would encourage, if anybody's listening, it would be a great something to gift somebody for Christmas.
That gamekeeper in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been told numerous times that people prefer the printed copy because they keep them. They use them for reference.
Yeah, we've heard that too. Well, that is a big accolade for the guy that puts that magazine together.
Yeah, that's you, Todd.
Which is on the horn.
Well, I like I learn so much by editing the magazine because I'm forced to. I better make sure it's correct before it gets put in print. But I learned so much, and I think of myself as that average guy. I got ground. I like to plant and hunt deer and hunt other wildlife. And if I find it interesting, I think a good majority of our readers would too. And I think all you guys sitting in that room probably feel the same way. So,
yeah, it's interesting. I've heard Toxie say a lot, and I heard Mark Drury say it. Actually, what the allure of it is the information, the fact that you can always continue to learn and keep improving and keep working on it. And I heard both of those guys reference that, not at the same table at the same time, and it was real clear to me. It is. That is what we just want to keep on learning about the things that we love. So,
well, and one thing.
Well, that's one reason why I like getting the queries from all of our writers spread throughout the continent, really. And I like them giving me their ideas on things that they find interesting. And, some of them just don't have imagination, so you have to provide topics for a good bunch of them. But the best ones are, for instance, we just had one by Dudley on creating honeysuckle enclosures.
Yeah.
I didn't know a thing about that. That was great. I enjoyed that.
That was I'd written down to ask everybody what their favorite article coming up was, and that was my favorite article. Now, I don't expect it was Dudley's favorite article because there is some controversy about honeysuckle, but
certainly. But if it's there and it's going to be nasty, you might as well try to use it to your advantage. But
she spelled that out.
Sides.
Yeah, she totally spelled that out. We all have a right to our opinions. And I think she did a good job with the pros and cons, and it is here to stay. So I'm sure we'll get some positive and negative feedback about that article, but I encourage it. I think we need to discuss that kind of stuff.
No, it needs to be the kind. And and death to the popcorn tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we work so hard is to try to make sure that if a guy lives in Ohio, that there'll be some relevant topics for Ohio, or if he lives in, some other region of the country. This isn't just a Southern magazine because we're a Southern-based company. It's got a really Northern fingerprint to it.
Todd. You got Bob Humphrey in there.
Yes, where is he? Vermont Maine. Or somewhere?
He's Maine.
Maine.
Yeah, okay.
That's as northeastern as you get.
It is.
The old hump.
He's an interesting cat.
He's been with us. We've had a relationship here many, many years. He always used to come to Portland. You hear me talk about Portland line. He's like, man, I love coming down here with y'all. Said y'all all talk like you got a bunch of marbles in your mouth.
Talk about the dream life. He's an outdoor writer. He goes all over the place hunting. He's got an offshore boat, catches bluefin tuna during tuna season. Come on.
And wasn't he a game warden? I think he was.
He may have been way back in the day. I don't remember.
Well, his carnal knowledge of wildlife is impressive. That's for sure.
He's a killer.
He is a killer too.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very impressive wildlife biologist. Yeah. I just learned though that he fishes for bluefin. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
And I know Casey.
Cool.
I think he's like second gen too. I think his dad did it too.
And lobsters.
Oh, that's great.
Lobsters up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to you, Hump.
So then there's another article that I listed as my favorite. I kind of had two, but the one where I asked you some questions about silencers for rifles.
Right.
There was a lot of good information there.
I tried my hardest to put it more in layman's terms and not all the tactical definitions and stuff. For me, I've just got hearing damage, and I can't shoot a gun again unless my ears are protected. So
yeah, everybody should protect their ears.
I went that route, but my favorite thing about them is it takes the kick away. So
I didn't realize it reduced recoil.
Yeah, I didn't. Dudley.
Well, isn't part of that reason because you're shooting slower rounds too, though?
Well, you can shoot slower rounds. I shoot supersonic, my regular deer rounds, and it makes it quieter, at the gun, but it still flies in a supersonic speed. So when the bullet's traveling through the air, it's making that sizzle, that crack, but it makes it safer at the gun.
Yeah, silencers aren't just for hitmen anymore.
No.
Yeah, that's right. So that article does kind of go into how you would obtain one and the whole 9 yards. So I think people will enjoy that. So the magazine.
I just got one.
Awesome.
All right.
I just got one for my 223, and I have yet to get the barrel threaded. But yes, I really kind of like the fact that you mentioned that. Nowadays, if I would have known that the gun that I wanted was already pre-threaded for a silencer, I definitely would have bought that rather than having to wait to get my my barrel threaded. But that was a good info. I liked it.
Well, good. Well, so the magazine is available. If everybody probably walks through a Bass Pro at some time, Bass Pro Shops. They're at Tractor Supply stores, which are everywhere. And it's at Walmart, which is more than everywhere. So there's plenty of chances to walk in and pick one up. Or, we'd love for you to subscribe. And I think you can subscribe at GameKeepersClub.com. So it's real inexpensive. And it would make a great gift item. Wouldn't you agree, Todd?
Oh, absolutely. I would agree. Yeah. If someone's interested, I don't care whether you own property, you manage property, even if you... There's articles in there that even if you hunt public ground every year, it can be of use to you.
Yep.
If you're into the outdoors, absolutely.
I think everybody needs 2 subscriptions,
There you go. All right, Laney, you got anything else for Todd?
I do. Would like to know, is it a crop, crawl, or crawl in your neck of the woods?
I think the scientific name starts with an I, doesn't it?
I can't say that word, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, pronounce that for me, and then I'll tell you.
ING.
I've always known it as a craw, but I've heard it called a crop. I've always called it a craw.
Gotcha. We're just taking a little poll around here.
So do y'all have crayfish or crawfish in Minnesota?
Well, we have both.
Oh. Do y'all dove hunt?
I don't think so.
For about a half a day. And then it's too cold. I'm guessing that this year we're not going to have any doves. It was like 36 degrees here this morning, so typically that early on. It's a bit early. We're a couple weeks early for weather like that. So, but usually the doves hit the trail at first, real harsh cold snap like that. So I have a few in the yard, but.
Well, hearing that about the cold snap gets me excited as the old duck hunter over here. I mean, Dudley was talking earlier today. The Rockies got a lot of snow, didn't they? Got dumped on pretty good.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, you guys waiting for those north winds to blow them down to you.
It's actually pretty nice at 93 today. It's pretty nice outside. So
I'd rather have 36 than 93.
I agree.
Yeah, but at some point, Todd will. I'll talk to Todd. It'll be around the first of the year, and he'll be like, "Well, I got 4 feet of snow, and it's 13 degrees. I'm thinking about moving down to Mississippi now."
Come on, you can crappie fish.
The older I get, the more I'm liking that warm weather stuff.
Well, you're welcome down here anytime, Todd.
Absolutely.
I know that.
Well. Look, we appreciate you. I know you got to get back to work editing that winter issue that'll be out before too long. So
got to get that done before the rut.
Yeah, and that's right. Todd will get all his work done prior to
pre-rut. That is what pre-rut is.
Well, kind of. In fact, I will bring my computer in the blind with me sometimes just because you got to make hay when the sun's shining,
That's
as
right.
they say. So.
Yeah, somebody was asking me, like, when do I need to hunt? I'm like, when the deer are moving.
Right.
The worst thing you can do for your hunting career is have a job that doesn't let you hunt.
All right, Todd, we appreciate you, buddy.
Have a good one, boys.
All right.
See you, Todd.
See you, buddy.
When I first bought this farm a short time ago, every single field was grown up with brush 8 and 10 feet high. But it went from that to this. And even though I planted biologic with very little moisture in the ground, I was really amazed at the results. I just sat in this field with my wife as she shot her very first deer. We could not be happier. We made a memory that will last a lifetime, all because of the effectiveness of the best food plot seed on the market. Biologic is better seed, pure and simple. Log on to plantbiologic.com to learn more.
Hey, I'm Toxie Hayes.
And I'm Cuz Strickland.
You know, here at the Mossy Oak brand, a primary thing that we all believe in is the good that we do will last long after we're all gone, which is why we challenge everyone who loves the outdoors and the critters who call it home to participate in the second annual Mossy Oak Properties National Day of Conservation.
That's right, Tox. It's Saturday, September the 26th. We challenge you to do something for conservation. Plant a tree, clean a stream. Hey, introduce somebody to the outdoors. We want everybody to know that if you love the outdoors, you're the tip of the spear and you're a part of this conservation effort.
Absolutely. So the most important thing is, are you in? Do you accept the challenge?
I accept it. You accept it.
It's always good to catch up with Todd.
Absolutely. Todd's a great guy.
The Rude.
And he's on the food plot. We actually got a hunt with him on the GameKeeper show that aired a couple weeks ago, too.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little peek into his family. Just an outstanding family and
The
great,
heck of a bow hunter.
Yeah, great guy.
I think, if I'm not, we talked about it a few weeks ago, but I think he's got about 40 some odd whitetail Pope and Young.
Yeah, no doubt
trophies.
about it. He's an amazing guy.
That's crazy.
And, been gamekeeping as long as I can remember. And been a part of this place for dang near as long as me. And you, old Cole.
Yeah.
Old Cole.
I think a lot of Todd. So, well, look, let's move along. You had wanted to talk about muscadines.
Yeah, well, I just, it's kind of that time of year. We bebopped in here, and, we are, the hunting part of us also, we're hunters and gatherers, I guess is the best way to put it. We really are. That quest for picking stuff up to eat, is really near and dear to me, as it is Dudley. And you too, Mr. Blackberry. You come in with fruits and stuff all the time. But just noticing the muscadines were coming around. People were picking them. There was a couple bags up there. And so I figured, hey.
They are delicious, and they're healthy for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to preface this a little bit. We've got a table in the front of the office that from time to time, Toxie will find something cool. Like there's the biggest sunflower head I've ever seen in my life sitting on that table. People will bring all their leftover squash and tomatoes and whatnot. So
it's a little farmer's market out there.
Last week we came into the office and there was several Ziploc bags full of different flavors of muscadines.
Who brought those?
Bobby?
Yeah.
You brought all of them?
I think so. I brought some muscadines and I brought some scuppernongs.
Did you pick those at the Ponderosa?
Or
the place formerly known as the Ponderosa?
He hadn't named his new place yet.
Yeah, I did. There's the people that had it before me had planted a vine and taken care of it, and it's trellised and everything, and it was just loaded with these black muscadines. And then on the other end, I've been learning about them, but there were scuppernongs. And I've heard about scuppernongs all my life. My grandmother had some, but just recently I've learned more about them than I ever knew. But they're so sweet. They're a lot sweeter than the muscadines.
What is it, Dudley? Is it a grape?
Yeah,
it is a grape, a wild grape.
Yeah, it's in the genus Vitis.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow wild everywhere, and you see the little, the black ones, falling out of the trees. You see the huge vines. We grew up, when we were kids, you'd find one near a creek, and you could cut it and swing across the creek and swing back.
Tarzan stuff.
And then sometimes you'd cut the wrong one. It'd end up being poison ivy, but that's a different story. So in the past, people have made selections of muscadines, for better taste, bigger fruit. There's a seedless one. Some of them are self-fruiting, and some of them are female. And the females need a self-pollinating one next to it to be able to set fruit. And there are what they call black and reds, and then you have what they call bronze varieties. So people have found some rare bronze ones in the wild, which doesn't happen very often. And then you've got people doing cross-pollination and all that stuff. I think there's a couple of land-grant universities that are working on them. But they're very disease-resistant for the Southeast. And they taste awesome. The bronze varieties, Bobby mentioned scuppernong, so that is one of the bronze varieties. But a lot of people just refer to the bronze ones as scuppernongs. But let's see, Carlos, there's a Fry, there's a scuppernong, there's a Higgins, and a lot of other bronze varieties. Some of the black and red varieties are called Cowart, Hunt, a Noble.
Sounds regal.
So,
there's a Scuppernong River in North Carolina.
And I'm pretty sure that that's where the first bronze variety was found, which is why they call it Scuppernong.
Yeah, and they say that there's a mother vine there that's over 400 years old.
Wow.
And it's still growing.
Wow.
Somewhere in North Carolina.
Okay. And some of these wine people from California have tried to cross muscadines, and we've got another one called fox grape or summer grape, which is a tiny little grape. And so they'll cross-pollinate them with their favorite, French champagne or whatever, Pinot, and try to make stuff more disease-resistant and that kind of deal.
So the disease-resistant is why they're breeding.
I tell you what, I prefer muscadines over all of them.
Really? The black ones?
I like all of them. Okay, and Bobby just showed us a jar of jelly made out of his bronze muscadines.
Yeah, so I brought some for everybody to try.
Oh, cool.
So,
this is a surprise.
This is good.
This is a surprise. So this
bag, get that bag away from the mic.
That held the muscadine. Then I've got one more treat in here for you guys.
Oh, I love treats.
Biscuits.
Biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
It's on.
I had no idea.
Biscuits and
All right,
Scuppernong?
you hear that jar? Which, by the way, jars are impossible to find.
That's what I've heard, shortage of mason jars.
Everybody's canning. Can I open it?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm going to try to make a pop noise. All right.
And this came off the
people that I bought the place from, the lady, her name is Pat Burwell, is an incredible cook. But she knows how to do all this canning and whatnot. And she sent this to me. She picked it back maybe a month ago. And then within a week, she had the jelly.
And this was off the vines off your place.
It was.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So get you a biscuit and try it. So I don't know, Jason, can you put a picture up on the website somehow of Lanny with a biscuit in his mouth? But this muscadine jelly is the color of, what would you call that? It's like cane molasses.
It kind of has a rosé color.
Ooh.
Yeah, I wouldn't have called it that.
You don't like rosé?
Well,
I know you're an Angry Orchard kind of guy.
Well,
since with your social media,
I was going to say
presence.
whiskey, but
it's kind of a pinkish amber color.
We'd like to. This is brought to you by.
So what are some other jellies y'all like?
I love jams. I like blueberry anything.
Yeah. Plum jelly's hard to beat too. And then if you go south of us, everybody's got that Mayhaw jelly that's so good.
That's what oh, hell, I lost my train of thought. Imagine that.
Blackberry jelly.
Blackberry, really good.
What is the difference in jelly and jam?
Jam has all the fruit stuff.
Chunks in it. That's why I like
Jelly's
jam.
like clear and filtered.
Mm-hmm.
That is so sweet. It's so good.
It's hard to beat.
I don't know if you can. I mean,
Did you,
don't have
did you just eat it or did you put it on a biscuit?
I put it on a biscuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're quick.
Yeah, I am. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know that you can buy muscadines in the grocery store. There's probably farmers markets around that sell muscadines.
I wouldn't. I'm just, I guess being in the southeast where I live in the middle of that river bottom, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah.
So let me.
I really want to.
Oh, and
do
deer.
what you
Deer love them.
Yeah,
Turkeys like them. Squirrels.
I really want to try what you were talking about, creating a trails for it. And then, Big Dave's uncle at the nursery. Well, Big Dave's at the nursery. His uncle's Uncle Jimmy. But he can identify the females or the, what'd you call the other one? I would have called it male, but that would have been wrong.
Self-fruiting.
Self-fruiting variety.
I'm sure you can look at the flower and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dudley's fixing to take a bite.
Here
There
we go.
What do you think, Dudley?
It's chewing.
It's good.
It's good.
So
It's tart. It's sweet. A lot of flavor. Kind of earthy. I love
earthy.
it. Man.
So let me ask you this. So Scuppernongs are rooted in Southern tradition, Southern lore, Southern history.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys, this is a trivia question, can you tell me which book actually kind of put the Scuppernong
Gotta be
into the Southern lore of
Huckleberry Finn.
No.
Not a Mark Twain?
That's a good guess, but no, that's not it.
I'm just gonna go with Faulkner.
No.
No?
No.
That is mighty fine.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Shut up.
Yep, To Kill a
Jason.
Mockingbird. Mention Scuppernongs.
Have some Scuppernog.
Well, that's the same
you-
area, right?
Producer Cleveland loves muscadines. That's
I'm-
actually how it made the list.
I'm also going to mention that at some point we need to talk about what Jason and his family does every fall. Growing, is it sorghum or cane? What are y'all growing?
Cane.
Okay, so they grow sugar cane
And make their own syrup.
and make their own syrup with all the old-timey equipment, and it is a really neat
really
process.
Yeah, we made some, we seared some tuna and made hoisin sauce out of that. Man, it was good.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I just love all this old-timey stuff that
I do too.
everybody's starting to do again, you know?
I do too.
It's cyclical. It all comes back. But
I mean, some of my earliest memories, you were talking about, y'all were shelling peas at your house. I mean, some of my earliest memories with my grandparents had a giant garden, and you sat in their screen porch and watched TV and shelled peas.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a giant Buick Regal. The seat seemed like it was 12 foot long. But you didn't argue, because if you started arguing in the back seat, they put a sack of peas in between you. You got to shell peas going down the road.
Oh man, yeah, my fingers were purple after this weekend.
I'm with you, Dudley. I love seeing the resurgence back to not only that's kind of independence to me, but taking care of yourself and utilizing the resource in the best way possible.
Yep.
It's a simpler lifestyle.
Way more rewarding,
Yeah.
way more. And there's going to be a lot more coming, from the brand. Obviously, food has always been at a centerpiece of the Mossy Oak culture. So, and for us, it's the biggest recruitment tool we've got. So,
I guess that means we got to grow some persimmons at the nursery. Mm-hmm. I mean, not persimmons, muscadine.
absolutely.
Well, I know where we can get a bunch of seed.
Yeah, I've been saving it.
Hey folks, it's Jeff Foxworthy. When I was a kid, my dad bought back the farm that he had grown up on, and I absolutely loved that place. I knew every square inch of it. It truly was my favorite place on earth. And when you're looking to find a favorite place for you and your family, Mossy Oak Properties can help. Visit mossyoakproperties.com to begin your search today.
What are we going to talk about today on Habit Chat?
Well, Dudley, I'm going to turn that one over to you.
I got a lot. I got some questions about this.
We actually got some questions.
Yeah, you got. Oh, did you write some, or did we get some? Oh, we got some questions. Sent in.
Yes,
Yeah,
sweet.
That's the Ask Dudley
I don't.
segment. Actually.
Jason didn't tell me what their name was, but
Okay.
I got an email with the questions. One of them was, what spacing would you recommend on American Persimmons, and your recommendations to maximize production in persimmons? Okay, so, persimmons are dioecious, meaning they're male and female. So half of the time you get a male, the other half you get a fruit-producing female. So that said, if you're not going to try to graft them and turn them all into females, you want them a little bit closer together. So I usually space persimmons about 20 feet apart.
And would that be with all native fruit or just specific?
Well, I mean, a persimmon can become a pretty big tree, so you actually want it spaced a little bit farther than that. But knowing that half of them are going to become males, that you may cut some of them down someday, you're just trying to maximize your space. You're basically planting twice as many sometimes. So
wasn't there an old wise tale where you could scar a male persimmon and it would morph?
It can morph into a female. That's documented. I've heard of people driving a bunch of nails in a tree, or like a dozer bumps into it when they're making a road or something, and it will just all of a sudden start making fruits.
You think that's a response to stress?
I think so. But the easiest way is just to graft it and turn it into a female. But yeah, that's the spacing. And to maximize production, get a soil test done, fertilize it properly, give it full sun. They get a disease called black spot. So if you put them down in a super low area that's going to be more humid, you might want to reconsider that and just put them just a little bit up the hill where the black spot is not going to be quite as bad. That usually defoliates them by the time before they get fall color. And so it can affect the fruit drop if the tree doesn't have any leaves on it. So
it sounds like every persimmon I've ever seen in my life.
They always have the black spots anyway, but it gets worse, and
down. Of course, I'm in the bottom.
They'll grow up on top of a hill too, but I kind of like them close to the bottom, where it's more productive soils.
So if a guy's interested in planting persimmons on his place, what's a minimum number of persimmons that you would plant? Would you say you need at least 5?
Well, it's a 50-50 chance, but I would say just go ahead and plant 4 per area just to make sure you've got one. But even better, I'd encourage you to watch my YouTube video and learn how to graft. And you can make all of them females, and then you don't have to worry about that.
That YouTube's everywhere, Bobby.
It is. Those cameras are everywhere.
They get it all. Get it.
All right. Well, Dudley, what is your YouTube channel?
Native Nurseries.
There we go.
Hey, and look,
I didn't know he had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's got a lot of videos out there. They get a lot of views.
I've got one more question. The other one, it says, what are your favorite types of areas to hunt early season and why? Well, I'm kind of a tree guy, so I'm just gonna say I like to find food sources close to the perimeter of my property, so I don't have to go into the middle of my place in early season. That might be a little pocket of chestnuts I planted a few years ago, or some sawtooth oaks. Muscadines are still dropping. You may find something in a bottom that's dropping, some big old oaks that have muscadines all in the top of them. The native acorns aren't dropping yet in most parts of the country in the early season. So if I'm not hanging over some radishes or some oats or something like that, I'm going to be finding the amassed crop that's dropping.
The water oaks just started barely dropping in my house.
Okay. That's very early.
Very early.
Might be as a result of all this dry weather.
It could be.
Usually, if you can, I refer to it as a abort.
Yeah.
If the cup is still attached to the acorn, that means it was probably aborted from an insect biting it, from the drought. And that's usually an indicator. When the acorns start dropping heavily and they don't have the cup attached, you know that's your prime time.
Yeah, they're not falling rapidly at all. just every now and then.
So in the future, I've got a question. I'd like for you to address in a future podcast. It may be a timeline of what oaks drop and when.
That'd be fun.
You know.
Yeah, because as a bow hunter, you know, when I used to bow hunt before I had kids and had time, I mean, that's what it was all about, finding the hot tree, you know.
And I would always, you know, going back to the days when I bow hunted.
Back in the Indian days.
But the first part of November, those white oaks would start.
Oh, yeah. Nothing better.
And that can be a problem in areas where there's a lot of white oaks. I mean, where you know, but if you're in the middle of a pine plantation and you find 5 or 6 white oaks,
it's on.
Woo!
That was the problem, you know, down in the bottom at Cottrell Lake. It was unbelievable, but there was no way to pattern. There were so many white oaks. Of course, the deer density was high enough too that you'd eventually sit in there and get a shot, but there's no way to know which one they were going to.
Now with the pigs, though, they are vacuuming up those things as soon as they are out competing the deer for them.
I think they're out competing everything, unfortunately.
I didn't mean to put a sour mood on the show, but me mentioning pigs. But boy. So, Dad, you got another question?
I do, but I'm just gonna be totally honest here. I don't know the answer to it. I didn't look it up. Maybe one of y'all will know.
Ooh, I doubt it. We'll try.
Since this is, and you know, I'm not a biologist. I'm a tree nerd. So.
Well, I'm not
Since
a
this is the
either.
opening weekend for
just a nerd.
Since this is the opening weekend for dove season, which was last weekend, what is the lifespan of a dove?
Ooh. It's actually longer than you think it is.
I'm going to look that up.
It is.
My guess is 1 to 2 years.
Now, I think it's a little more like can be 3 to 4 years.
And you want to put mourning dove because that's what they were referring to.
Okay.
And a lot of people, including myself, used to think that the doves we were shooting were born this year, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, the dove, you know, those doves are just like young migrating waterfowl. Those doves don't have any kind of preconceived ideas of, oh my gosh, there's a hunter there, we got to be. So yeah, we do kill those, but it's not the majority of the birds.
Interesting.
This is saying average around 2 years up to 5 years, and that's looks from.
I used to think they
North
had a
Carolina.
really high mortality rate, but I learned that it's not as high as I thought it was.
I thought it was interesting what Vandy Collins says, that the majority of the birds that he has actually stay around there. Didn't he say that? Most of them come from
Yes,
that area.
he does. He feels like he's hunting and shooting local birds until later in the year there may be a group of migrants that come through.
That would make sense.
But he's very adamant about that. That it's local birds.
He's way down south, so they may have already migrated there. You heard what Todd said. It was 36 degrees this morning, and most of his doves have already left.
Right.
Well, and where Vandy is kind of that dead
Coastal,
center of the Black Belt.
Yeah.
And that prairie, and that is just dove
It's
center.
dovey for sure. Lots of catfish ponds.
If any place is going to have a lot of birds, it's going to be down there. So, well, look, this show, we're over an hour already. We really didn't get to go to the habitat. Why don't we save that for next time?
Okay. Well, I think what we were going to talk about is, this week's field note is about a properly timed nitrogen application. So, yeah, maybe we can jump on that next week or something, just kind of get Dudley's insight to that. I know, you're more about quality soils than pelletized and fertilizers and everything else. But understanding, I don't think a lot of people understand what, triple 13 is, what, 13, 13, 13 is, what makes up the other parts of those things, and different application times and methods. There's a proper way to do it, and there's an improper way to do it. Mm-hmm. So, we can say that next week.
To do this topic justice, I think we don't need to be rushed with it.
We probably need to devote most of a podcast to that.
Cool.
Right. Well, so this is
we've been talking for an hour.
Yeah, we have a little over an hour.
Golly.
Yeah,
eating
biscuits and jelly and everything else.
I like this food thing.
Yeah, you do. So we all do. So, well, look, we appreciate y'all listening. We do have one offer for everybody. If you're interested, we've got the guys that are building our GameKeepers Fieldware have a teal special where you can save $60 or I think it's 30%. But they've got a special if you'll go to GameKeepers GameKeeperFieldwear.com.
GameKeeper Fieldwear, yeah.
And it's called the Teal Special, and it's a cruiser jacket in original shadowgrass, cruiser pants in original shadowgrass, and a bottomland bird vest. And it's 30% off.
They got that all packaged up.
All packaged up, and I think it's going to last for about 10 days, 2 weeks.
All right.
So I'm just passing that along.
Hey, have you ever found a dove nest?
I've seen them, yes.
Have you?
Yes. And, speaking of that, you were really
Random
good at
comment of the
putting
day by Lanny Wallace.
Hey, man.
Putting us
Anybody
down a
that knows
rabbit
me
hole.
know where they get
But these collared Eurasian doves,
Yeah.
we're seeing, one of the things that they're so worried about is that they actually will go in and push a mourning dove out of their nest and take it over.
And nurture the eggs, or
Now, I don't know about
because there's
all
a bird that does that. And no, there's a bird that goes into wood duck boxes and drops an egg in there, and the wood duck raises it.
Yeah, there's some diver ducks.
Mergansers.
Yeah.
Merg. Neil Hayes' favorite duck, the merganser. Just playing.
All right, guys.
All right.
Well, y'all go to GameKeeperFieldwear.com, check that out, and we'll have another podcast hopefully next week. We appreciate y'all listening. And if you like what you hear, if you give us a good rating, we sure would appreciate it, and invite some other folks to listen.
Tell your buddies.
Yeah. So
Thanks
Dudley,
for the biscuits, Bobby.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Lanny, why don't you give us your little soon-to-be patented trade phrase?
Get us out of here, Cleve.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the GameKeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to GameKeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.